Hi, welcome to the Motion Picture Notion. I'm your host, Gabriel Burton. All right, so here we are. American Reunion. It came out in, I believe, 2012. I went out to theaters to see it with my friends. Perfect opening, very reminiscent of the movies that preceded it. Now, this movie shows some change. Our friends are over a decade older. A lot of them have families and lives. Actually, the two things that I really had to complain about American Wedding were totally fixed. And I mean totally fixed by this movie, okay? First of all, they dialed it back a little bit with Stifler. He was like American Pie 2 Stifler, you know? Maybe not quite as funny, but on that almost exact level. You know, the friend that nobody likes, the friend that is like a major asshole and you don't like want to introduce him to your parents, but like at the end of the day, you're glad that he has your back. And they nailed it perfectly. So I'm happy to see that they kind of went back to basics with that whole situation. But also, Oz is back in the movie. And not only is he back, he openly says at one point to Jim, dude, I already missed your wedding. But also, they have this whole backstory where he made like a complete and total horse's ass out of himself on some like American Idol knockoff show, singing shirtless with a backwards hat, and he got reamed by the judges. And then instead of just like letting it go with dignity, he was sort of like, I just wanted to say, like, you know, like kind of vanilla icing it up. As a person in the real world watching this scene, and especially seeing him watch it like after the fact, I felt like thoroughly embarrassed for him. I felt like really bad for him. But the whole point of that is, apart from, you know, giving further humanization to the character, it's like they also explained beautifully why A, he wasn't in American Wedding, and B, why they made absolutely no reference to him. He was probably to some degree or another like, you know, F you guys. And he swung for the stars and he fell flat on his face and he came out looking like a horse's ass. So that entire backstory was perfect, and it makes it easier when you go back and you watch American Wedding because now you know what was happening. And the thing is, with other characters like Jim's dad, who is Eugene Levy, of course, Schitt's Creek, just like an iconic dude. You find out that Jim's mom has died. And, you know, that has the potential to be like a very, maybe like too dark of a thing where it's sort of like it takes you out of the whole comedic element. There is like one scene where they give that like an honest, like dramatic recognition where it's sad and you can see the pain on his face. But then it sets up this whole new scenario about how like, Dad, you should get out and date. And then we get to see Jim's dad going out and trying to date. You got Finch, who shows up on a motorcycle and he's got this like easy rider vibe about him. And it turns out that he's actually really done nothing with his life. All these other people, they have careers, they have whatever, and he just legit doesn't know what to do with his life. Jim and Michelle are having, you know, kind of marital problems in that their sex life isn't as like spiced up as it could have been. There's this chick that Jim runs into at a party who's drunk off her ass, who he used to babysit back in the day, but she's like friggin' 18, 19 years old now, and she's like hot. There's this whole like almost Hitchcockian in its suspense, but comical at the same time, where it's like she takes off her shirt and she's trying to, because she's drunk and shit, and he's like, oh no, because he's trying to drive her home, and it's like she passes out in his car, so he's carrying like her unconscious body when he's like setting her down on the bed and shit. Her dad comes in and he like hides in the stuffed animals. It's almost like anxiety inducing. I like how there's even sort of a resolution for Stifler in that there's one point in the movie where everybody's just kind of fed up with him. You're an asshole. You piss everybody off. You ruin everything. Why don't you just go away? And then when the actual reunion happens at the end of the movie, they go to find him. He's like, I thought you guys didn't want to hang out with me anymore. I thought you guys said that I was a dick. And they're basically like, well, I mean, yeah, man, you are. But you're our dick. And it kind of comes back later when, you know, like Stifler, like there's some dude who's giving Oz some shit. So he basically goes like, what are you going to do, big man? Huh? He's like, you going to hit me? He's like, I'll sue you. All of a sudden, Stifler just comes in and clocks the dude right in the face. You can sue me. I don't have any money. I'm your dick. Kevin gets reunited with Vicky. At this point in time, Kevin already has his own wife, and he spends the night partying, and Vicky is there, and he wakes up in the same bed next to her, and he's sort of like, oh shit. Like, he thinks he slept with her. It turns out that wasn't what happened, and she was offended by the fact that he would have thought that she would have done that. You get to see Jessica, who you find out is now in a lesbian relationship. You see Nadia. So there's a lot of things about sort of like revisiting, I guess you could say, the awesome times. Again, it did everything that it needed to do. I've heard tell that they're considering making another American Pie movie. You know what? Who's to say? If they have a good enough gimmick, I would love to see these characters again. I mean, right now, the only thing I can think of is like American Retirement or something like that. I love these characters. I love the fact that even though American Wedding kind of went a little bit off the rails, this film kind of reined it in. It brought everything sort of full circle. Everything feels complete. And again, even the weaker part of the 4 movies, it's worth watching. It's worth getting the entire experience. And that's something that cannot be said of many franchises out there. These movies are, for what they are, near perfection. American Reunion, definitely worth checking out. And that's all she wrote.